Rivian,
What are we up today on Rivian?
3.5%. Well
Yeah,
done.
let's go.
We're live.
Right.
Come on.
Welcome, guys. Good morning to another episode of Market Check. I am going to be hosting today, Snorlax XBT. You guys also know me as Tommy. I'm joined by the CEO of Because Bitcoin, Max, as well as I believe that our new CFO, Tucker. Yeah, guys, we are going to be breaking down all things markets, all things charts. Obviously, got quite a bit to talk about today, given everything that's happened with Binance, with Coinbase over the last 24 to 48 hours, and the resulting price action that it has caused on Bitcoin and the crypto markets. When we look over in equity land and legacy markets, the S&P is up. Sure the Qs are up as well. I don't have it loaded on my watch list right now, but the real story of the day are small and mid caps. You look at IWM, almost up 3%. We've kind of talked about that on our spaces about how IWM and small caps have mostly been a hedge for people to play the tech side of equity land long while remaining short beta. And it looks like that trade is partially unwinding today. Yeah, I mean, quite a bit to get into really quickly before we get started and more in depth with our conversations, guys. Just wanted to point out that we are also running a promotion on our Discord where we're giving a free weekly trial for our GigaChat membership. You guys get access to us, all as traders, our calls, our positions, and you get to be a part of a really active and fun trading community, with motivated traders just like yourself. Yeah, guys, without further ado, I guess we can go ahead and get started, get into some opening thoughts, some charts. Max, I'd love to go over to Bitcoin to kind of take a look at kind of what we've seen this morning, or at least kind of what I'm starting to see. Let me hide some of these indicators.
Wow,
Sorry,
Bitcoin's kind of moving. Interesting.
It's moving all right.
Yeah.
Let's hide that. Yeah, I mean, we got some really nice volume yesterday on this dump on Binance. I thought that was particularly notable. But as I've kind of been talking about over the last 24 hours, we haven't quite had a sustained bid on volatility continue to come through. So for me, I'm kind of expecting more of the same, guys. I'm gonna be honest, like just this chop, a slow downtrend lower with these nasty squeezes to take out hedges. And if that's the case, if we're going to remain in a really low volatility environment, then just trade off the volume, right? You see we get these dumps in volume, price will float up. They're at least good for some scalps, right? But I think they're even more notable when you get into the lower time frame. You look at stuff like the hourly and you look at the buy volume, because right now there's really not a ton of participation in this market, organic buying. So when you see these really thick green buy volume candles, it's typically shorts getting squeezed. So like when that happens, you're probably going to have a decent short opportunity present itself pretty soon. At least that's kind of what I've been seeing in this, like I said, low volatility environment. So I want to see where this kind of goes here. We're probably going to pop a few more shorts here, continue to trade into this FEG. One trick I've kind of picked up on, ICT trick that actually from Alex in our Discord, Max, is like isn't it like the 0.5 level on the FVG is a good level to look for a reaction. So I have this box right here. It's a totally arbitrary box. It doesn't have to generate a reaction, but I did post in the Discord yesterday. I think we can potentially see a short setup, a rise from this level. It's a very important level now, I would say, contextually speaking, when we talk about a gap down from Binance news. Are we just going to immediately U-turn and BART and just squeeze all these shorts? I could absolutely see it. But, if we see weakness here, you'd probably be looking at wherever we do put in a high, let's take a look. Wherever we do take a high, and break down, if we break down, you would put your stop obviously right here. And my computer is lagging right now, so my lines are a little ugly, but we'll ignore that. And I would potentially be looking at, I've had 25.2 marked out personally. It's a level I have marked out from, I think, back in March. I would be looking at something like that. Be a nice 1,000 point trade if it comes to fruition. If we show strength and reclaim, kind of this territory and fill that whole FEG, then I think we're probably going to continue to squeeze. And I wouldn't be looking for shorts as actively. But yeah, no, I mean, I mentioned that mid and small caps have really been outperforming, right? Like IWM, but you're seeing it in altcoins today. Things like FTM, I guess Blur is up 5%. But I want to turn it over to you, Max, because I know you were in that IWM trade as well. I want to see your screen, kind of what you're seeing on IWM, because you actually you called that move to a T, because that retest it gave us a pretty perfect retest. And I was looking at how to play IWM before the week started, because I had a bullish bias. Tucker has been talking up the potential for an IWM move higher. And I was looking at the short dated calls for June 12th, and they were up 800 or 900% on Friday. And I can't bring myself to buy options at the bell that were up that much. So I followed your plan and I bought them on the dip. They dropped about 60% in a day, and gave us a really nice entry.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to talk about it. I'm just changing my my theme right here. I feel like darker shows up better on YouTube. But here was, and by the way, you guys can't see my screen, so I'll just kind of narrate it. But what I was looking for was, basically we've sort of been floored on price, and I'm going to talk about IWM. There's different ways to play the Russell, but I prefer to play the ticker IWM, which is the Russell 2000 ETF. Really easy, really convenient. We've basically been floored at about 170 since basically the beginning of 2023. This entire year, we haven't really in a meaningful capacity been able to breach that level. So my thought was, okay, we had expansion at one point all the way up to roughly like 200. Okay, that was back in February, because January was a pretty bullish month for risk all across the board. Beyond that, we had a pretty aggressive sell-off, and basically the Russell has just been ranging between more or less 180 and 170. Slight deviation above, slight deviation below. But within this larger range that goes all the way from 170 to 200, we've also formed a lower time frame range at our range low of the bigger range. Okay, so again, the smaller range is basically 180 range high, 170 range low. We've been coiling there or consolidating there. Now, I was watching closely what was happening across the board with other equity indices. For example, QQQ has been straight up in a straight line all year. SPY, not quite as aggressively, up and to the right like QQQ, but nonetheless, really, really great year for the S&P 500, especially after a really poor 2022. Certain individual names have been showing strength across the board. And I was looking at the Russell saying, there will come a time when sort of these zombie companies, which, correct me if I'm mistaken or forgive me if I'm wrong, make up about 25 to 35% of the Russell. Companies that most likely don't have that bright of a future, okay? But I was looking at this saying, who cares? The TA is there. We've got very clear levels. 180 is our low time frame range high. The market clearly wants to bid. There is an appetite for risk across the board right now, and that's indicative of what we saw with an individual name like NVIDIA. You had a mega cap blue chip tech name literally add $300 billion to its market cap overnight. I understand their earnings were pretty good. I understand that they're one of they're sort of,
We've got.
oh, I think I'm hearing an echo from somebody. You got to put me on mute. And I understand that, they're sort of like the biggest name attached to this AI bull market, this AI push. And again, it seems very reminiscent to me of what happened back in 2020 and 2021, where companies would just come out of the woodwork and say, hey, we're integrating blockchain technology, and they would just pump, all right? And they just couldn't stop saying blockchain. Most of them probably gave back all those gains and then some, but it doesn't matter because we're here to play the narratives. We're here to speculate on the future, not what actually comes to fruition. That's for later down the road, but you play the narratives as they come. And Nvidia adding $300 billion to its market cap overnight was not necessarily indicative or screaming to me this market is primed for a pullback. It's actually screaming the opposite. This market wants to bid. There is liquidity sidelined. People are chasing. There's an appetite for risk. And I said, who cares if the Russell, if a third or a fourth of the Russell is basically just garbage companies that you would never actually want to own or integrate into your long-term portfolio. The Russell 2000 looks floored. There's a concrete beam that was laid, a foundation that was laid at 170. And I said, all right, if we can break our low time frame range high of 180, and the market as a whole has this temperament, has this demeanor of, I want to bid, I want to speculate. Some might even call it gambling. It's a lot easier to manipulate and cause small caps to run than it is QQQ. Much easier. So look, we had a low time frame breakout, and I said to everybody in our Discord, and I think I mentioned it on Twitter Spaces as well, and I think I even maybe put out a tweet about it. I said, if we break out of 180, we break out of this low time frame range, yes, there is in fact a chance that it ends up becoming a deviation. But a very effective strategy for me over the years is identifying where is my last stand? Where am I wrong? Where is the area that it must hold either up or down? And for me, we had to break out of 180 and then come back, retest our previous range high, or in the simplest of terms, retest previous resistance and see if it flips to support. If we get acceptance back under 180, I cut the trade. It's that simple. So we hit a nice long. We played some calls. They're doing tremendously well today. They're up over 100% in one day. It wasn't crazy size, but it's not bad. It definitely feels nice to get this win, and it happened exactly how we wanted it to. And by the way, these arrows here, I know you're just seeing them right here. I haven't moved these. These have been drawn for a few days now. We've been mapping this out diligently. And I took a little bit of profit up here this morning at 184.60 or 70 spot price. Again, I'm playing calls, so it's a little bit different. But you'll see I've got plenty of time until expiration. We're already in the money on them, or we were this morning. We're basically just about short of them right now. I was playing the 185s, but yeah, it's been a really great trade, and I think it's about this temperament of the market has an appetite for risk. And you compound that or pair that with the market over, well over 50% probability of pricing in a Fed pause on interest rate hikes in the middle of this month. There's no reason why risk, or even, I would go as far to say garbage, can't pump. Why can't it pump? There's money out there. There's an appetite for risk. We have a Fed pause narrative. We have an AI narrative. The TA looks good. It's going to bid. We're going to go risk on, and we're seeing that today. Why is the Russell up? It was up almost 3% at its peak. So I'm liking what I'm seeing across the board. It's been fun to play. It's been fun to watch. Would I be buying up here, at 184.26 on the Russell if I wasn't already in? I don't know. Maybe not. I'd probably be looking for something like this, truthfully. I would look for, say, yeah, probably something like this. Make this white so you guys can see it. I'd look for a pullback to probably move this here. I'd look for a pullback to maybe sub 183. We could maybe, look for something like this. This is, if I wasn't in, this is what I'd be looking for. Something like this. A little move like that. That's probably what I'd be looking for if I wasn't already in. But I am in. So maybe I'll compound there. And again, I mentioned I shaved some this morning when we were up about 3%. So maybe I'd add it back here, sub 183. Get back to more full size. But yeah, those are some of my thoughts. I'll let Tucker go, and then we can come back and maybe talk a little bit of crypto.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely agree on the small cap play. you guys capitalized on it more than I did because you're right. I was talking about it for like weeks. And if you go over to my chart real quick, I'll show you why I did not get in it, which was a fumble. But this is what I had drawn for it. I had this volume profile of this whole range. We're on the daily here. Um, this is like, okay, so I know what you were looking for, Max. You were looking for something. I think you had your range drawn like that
Yeah.
basically
Yeah.
as your range highs, right?
Exactly.
And I unfortunately was, let's see, not that one. I don't know where it went, but basically my range highs were based on this volume profile, which we're just now getting above. So I was looking for something more like this, right? Which probably is going to end up being the wrong move. But I also was looking for kind of a bleed down into CPI and then probably a disinflationary print slash pause rally. Um, just because I knew we were going to get some liquidity trickery this week and a lot of money being washed around throughout the TGA and the reverse repo facilities and all that. So after seeing the indexes go up in a straight line, I figured we were probably due for a pullback. But yeah, I've been eyeing this rotation in the small caps for a while, so I am looking to get in. I'm not gonna get in here. I'm gonna wait probably for like a retest of I mean, if we get like 181, 182, I'll probably just bite the bullet and get in. But um, yeah, definitely. This is where I set out my TPs. We got an order block here. I kind of like this normie trend line of us just kind of like coming up here and maybe doing that. So I don't know. I think we could come hit this final TP target for myself, like 197, maybe 190s. If we do really continue to see the rotation throughout a pause rally. But yeah, so as of right now, I'm gonna chalk that one up to a complete fumble. But um, yeah, just taking a quick look at the S&P, we're kind of stalling out. I had some levels from higher. Um, Looking at this fib, just taken from the all-time high to the low, pretty basic stuff. We've got, the August highs back here, the 382. We'll have to see what happens when we get there, but I do expect us to get there, is kind of my point. Um, I think even if we do pull back, we can stay bullish and maybe poke our head above. We'll have to see what happens up here, right? I don't, whether we poke above and turn around or whether it's a deviation and loss of the level, but we'll see. But yeah, besides that, let's see. I mean, actually, let me go to Bitcoin. I had this drawn. I was talking with friend of the brand, Blake, and one of our mods, Blake, about this last night. We did a space. I like this fib a lot, just taken from the all-time high down to the COVID low. The 1272 pinged the top at that 30K pretty perfectly. So that's just kind of a zoomed out log time frame, right? But I don't know. I mean, obviously, like Tommy, you said 25-2, like that was the top back here, and it was another interesting level right here. So I mean, yeah, this whole area I think is going to end up being important. I know we were talking about that like a couple weeks ago, saying like, everybody wants to bid 25 basically, and that they probably won't get the chance to. Um, we got 25-4. We're seeing a reaction here. This is a little more zoomed in chart, but I don't know. I mean, that's the volume from up here, right? So we're well below that. I think I did have a volume profile drawn. Yep, there it is. Of just this whole range down here. I mean, that's your high, right? So like if you can't hold these top wicks up here, like I think you're coming down here for sure. little X, right? What is that? 22.5. I think, yeah, I think if you can't bounce out of here, I think I just messed it up. So I
And
max.
Tucker, right below that level, I know some people don't like to trade these, but there's a CME gap, like I think just under 21. I wouldn't mind seeing like a really deep and aggressive retrace to fill that and take care of that CME futures gap on Bitcoin, where it kind of the perception initially is that we would lose that value area high retest and then reclaim it, which would potentially set up a really nice long opportunity on like peak FUD.
Yeah, if you got like this, and then kind of
Yeah, and then just exactly. So it looks
yeah.
like we lose, we have acceptance back to that value area, and then it just spits it right back up.
Where is that gap? Is it like right around 20?
Yeah, it's just a hair under 21, I believe. I know some people don't like to trade with them. I personally find them to be very effective. Um, the fill rate on the CME futures gaps is it's too big to ignore. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. No, I like that. I like that definitely. But yeah, I mean, if we're gonna get like I think like I was saying, like it doesn't look great, right? But I mean, if you can kind of reclaim like your low here, like if you can reclaim that and get back in here, I think you can probably at least target like your little. We just call this like a little mini range, right? Little deviation. I think you can probably maybe do it again, but I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot of FUD, a lot of not even FUD, just based in Binance. So
Oh, there's
um
definitely FUD, man. But see, I don't know if it's FUD or if it's real. Like it could be,
I
it
mean,
could
it's
have
actually
legs.
bad news.
both. Yeah, I think it's got legs, but it also, I mean, it's probably being overblown, but I think
I'm
Yeah.
gonna bring us just to the
probably
faces
got
here.
legs
So
though.
no charts up. I
Yeah.
wanted to have a discussion with you guys. I wanted to have a discussion with you guys about the news we got this morning and get your thoughts on it. Um, I'll go to you first, Tommy. What do you make of the Coinbase lawsuit, the SEC? Love to get your thoughts on it.
Uh, well, the first thing is that I mean, you kind of have to distinguish it as very different than, the lawsuit or yeah, the lawsuit that the SEC just hit Binance with. The things that they accuse them of are drastically different. Binance accused of commingling customer funds with, everything in between. CZ withdrawing money to buy a yacht, a lot of different things like that. But Coinbase is, kind of being accused more or less of, you know, one having, an exchange that's selling unregistered securities, but secondly, they're also kind of being accused of not really complying with regulators. And I think the second part in particular is ridiculous because how many times have you publicly seen Coinbase ask Gary Gensler and the SEC for regulatory clarity only to never receive it? So to me, I actually think, and I said this on the Giga Chat call this morning, that I think it's a mistake by the SEC. At least, it looks like they're trying to make an example out of Coinbase here, or an example out of the crypto industry in general. But they risk, because their case against Binance probably has some very real legs to stand on, I would imagine. I mean, nobody has doubted that Binance has done some really shady things over the last few years. We joke about it all the time. It's been a feature, not a bug. But by if their case against Coinbase isn't rock solid and they have, seemingly publicly or seemingly evaded public questions by, Brian Armstrong, CEO from Coinbase, then I think that would be a very poor reflection on the SEC as regulators and any impartial judge or I would imagine in this case it'll probably eventually be in an appellate court is going to see right through that. So and I do think that's why you're seeing that these charges brought in a like civil lawsuits rather than criminal charges because the burden of proof of criminal charges is drastically higher than civil ones. So I do think it does beg the question, who is squealing? Is it SBF? Is it I've seen uh Tabasco from Alameda. I think they're both really good guesses. It wouldn't shock me if either of those guys are squealing on the rest of people. But yeah, no, I mean it's just fallout from the amazing bull run that we've had, right? It's theory of reflexivity. Uh, we're seeing that reflexive side to the downside right now, and everybody feeling super down about the future of crypto. Whereas top of 2021, everybody was incredibly excited about where we were headed and things of that manner. So, yeah, no, I will also kind of add that I said on Spaces yesterday, I don't think that the SEC or any regulator for that matter has any intention of working um, with us or to create reasonable securities laws. A lot of these things are absolutely securities. They are. If you think they're not, I think you're lying to yourself. Quite frankly, they absolutely are. A lot of these things are illegal, unregistered securities. But the problem is, if you let the regulators in, you give an inch, they're going to take a mile. And we do not have benevolent regulators. We have a regulator who wants to stake his entire reputation and his legacy on, just regulating in the space into the ground, regulating blockchain. I don't know if he's some sort of blockchain maximalist. I don't know. I don't care, but he is not. I don't view him as he has not proven to be willing to cooperate or to be even meet or to even meet in the middle with a lot of these entities that are not just Binance, but long-standing pillars within crypto like Coinbase. So that's really how I feel about it, Max. I'm not a fan of Gary Gensler. I'm not a fan of the SEC. I think you can admit that a lot of these assets are unregistered securities, while simultaneously admitting that the regulation issue in America is an absolute shit show, and is. And I can't think of any better word to describe it than that.
Tommy, do you think the Coinbase lawsuit is basically just like a sideways attempt to get these cryptos registered as unregistered securities? Like, because that's kind of where I think they're coming at it from. Because like I feel like they can't really have a case against Coinbase, given that they literally have an office in Coinbase's offices, right? Like,
Do they?
yeah, I believe they do. So like I think it's just like a sideways route for them to get to for them to further their regulation and calling these things unregistered securities. More so with the Coinbase one than the Binance one, obviously. But I think in concert they'll work for that like end goal probably. But
Yeah, I I'm kind of I think there are a lot of different things that they could be trying to push. I think at the end of the day, it's just a crusade against the crypto industry. Um, there's plenty of things that need to be regulated here. And I would agree with that. But, like I said, it's you give them an inch, they take a mile. So do I really trust that these regulators are going to be working for solutions that favor us as investors, as well as the future of crypto? No, I don't think so. And that might mean, like you said, trying to register all of these altcoins as, and that it will eventually lead to potentially Ethereum being listed as a security, which would maybe be a much bigger problem. Maybe it's not a problem at all. Maybe it's the whole issue of labeling it as a security or not. I mean, I would say the only thing that, do you change the way the demand structure is within crypto, like to still allow speculation? Does that impact the type of leverage offered? Does it impact, um, futures trading? Does it impact on-chain trading? I would imagine to some degree they're going to start with securities. They're definitely going to try to kill all derivatives in America, or derivatives trading in America. I mean, that's long been the end game for regulators in the US. It's just unfortunate, I think more than anything, because we do love this space and we happen to be in a country that is one of the least supportive of any, major Western country.
Well, I'd be interested to see if them classifying these altcoins as securities would actually be bullish,
For
right?
some, it might be bullish. For some, it might.
Yeah.
For a
Yeah,
lot of them, they'll send them to zero.
yeah, that's true. But like, I guess if you're talking majors, you're talking like top 50, 100 cryptos, like the people that have a lot of money that aren't trading these things are probably not trading them because there's no regulatory clarity. And I know that we could go round and round about that like topic basically, but I mean, there's got to be something to it, right? Like, there's got to be a lot of money. It's just like, yeah, I don't want to touch this shit because it's completely unregulated, right? Like,
Yeah. No, I mean, there is to a certain extent. Like I said, there are definitely things about crypto that you could regulate. I mean, look at the way that
sure.
centralized figureheads have ran a decentralized industry like CZ, SBF. I mean, those guys basically ran it without rules, and yes, it resulted in some vicious blowups. But there's also then the argument that that's kind of what makes crypto, is that it is kind of a self-regulating space. I've always said I think adoption by institutional clients is ultimately bearish for crypto because that's how you're getting towards the end of the speculative growth cycle, and the returns won't be as juiced as they have been, in previous cycles. But yeah, that's kind of what I would say. A lot, like I do think that the self-regulating nature of this space is, not a bad thing about it necessarily, even though, it's I wouldn't necessarily say it's very safe during periods of downturn for a lot of retail investors. It's very crypto is ultimately just the epitome of convexity to the environment, you know, super convex to the downside when it's going lower, and then vice versa to the upside. But yeah, no, that's kind of what my opinions are on Coinbase and Binance. I don't know that it's necessarily a huge problem for the space, because I talked about this yesterday on Spaces. Like, how long have we kind of been joking about, CZ getting? We've been saying like, oh, CZ's going to get arrested or something like that, and all he did was get hit with a lawsuit so far. So it's kind of like I don't want to say that it's priced in necessarily, because we obviously did dump yesterday, but you can't say that you couldn't see it coming at all. And I know for a fact that big participants have seen it coming. Crypto is basically like the insider trading king of markets these days, always has been. But yeah, I like to see the altcoins run today, Max. I like to see that. Kind of makes sense with the whole Russell running. I do want to, if you could share my screen real quick, I wanted to point something out that kind of scares me a little bit.
Sure. And by the way, I was just messing with the stream settings. I think I may have fixed it, but we were having an issue with some serious lagging. So I was getting some troubleshooting help from Edward, as it's starting to look a little bit better. So
Remember that fractal I put on Bitcoin dominance in like January?
oh yeah.
I think if it's going to go higher, it's probably going to do it pretty soon. And I was kind
Now,
of,
does it go higher from a dump or a pump?
that's a good question. That's a really good
It's
question.
the only question.
Yeah, I hope it's not necessarily true, because you guys know I have the belief that NFTs can potentially do really well this summer, but um, I guess we'll kind of see what the market does. I do think there's a scenario that we do kind of what we did in the summer of 2021. And I'll go back to Bitcoin, where um, it's maybe not as important for Bitcoin, but sorry, my computer's really laggy with Zoom for whatever reason. Jeez, that's unfortunate. There we go. We had this ultimately sideways price action, but we had multiple stabs at the low. And while Bitcoin's going sideways, one thing I distinctly remember about this range, especially because I was an altcoin bag holder at the time, was that alts just bled incessantly. So I wonder if that could happen again, if a Bitcoin dominance trade could be potentially in order heading into the summer. Might be a decent, if you're looking to, you might be need to look for hedges on Bitcoin if you do like an NFT trade this summer, like myself. Um, or Bitcoin's gonna rip. Like
Are
Tucker said.
you how are you feeling? It's the first week of June. How are you feeling in a general sense about potential risk on this summer market, across the asset class in crypto? Do you think it's possible that we see some serious bidding this summer?
I don't know, Max. It's kind of tough because it's like even though we have equities ripping, I think gold was green yesterday. I don't know what it's doing today. We haven't gotten any movement on Bitcoin. Yes, it's been like this is the type of thing where people long it, expecting a market structure break here. They expect a market structure break here. It's probably going to do the exact same thing, and they're expecting a break here, and they're not going to get it. We're just going to bleed out. I don't think there's new money coming in necessarily to spur on. We would have to have a rotation into Bitcoin from other assets within the space, which would maybe favor like a Bitcoin dominance rotation anyway. But I thought GCR had a tweet in February where he put it really well, where um, you know, echoes are kind of marked by the same capital rotating into different things, pumping them. You can see it with the fickleness of the pumps themselves and how they retrace, right? Like you look at
Mm-hmm.
altcoins, you see the Bitcoin structure since beginning of the year. We can look at altcoins that have not nearly held their pumps as well. You know, nobody's holding these things anymore. Not at the moment. FTM, big bleed. I can point to a lot of these tokens that have just bled all year. But um yeah, no, then he said the other thing he said about it was that the I mean, of course, the bull market, the next one is going to be marked by new money coming in. So, where does the money come from is always going to be the question if you're going to see higher prices. If you're going to see higher prices for Bitcoin, you have to see the money come from somewhere else within the space, or you need to see new inflows into the space. What's going to drive new inflows to the space? You need a catalyst for that, probably. There's not really one that I can think of in the immediate term, unless people start chasing Bitcoin or crypto over the summer as a result of underperforming equities. But right now, I don't think that's the case. I think there's just in general, like there's too much uncertainty in crypto right now. Like the two most prominent exchanges just got charged or just got lawsuited by the SEC. You know, if you're a big money investor, is this the time you want to invest? I mean, smart money, maybe you're probably going to be you're probably want to be accumulating within, this entire range for as long as we're here if you have a really long-term outlook on Bitcoin. But, if you're looking for like trying to like a trending market, I don't, it's kind of hard to see right now, Max.
I, I like I like that term a lot. I think it's applicable here. Trending market. So
Yes.
yeah, could there be, moments throughout this summer or even towards the early part of next year or towards the early part of the second half of the year? Could there be moments in time, a week, 2 weeks, maybe a month, where Bitcoin and ETH specifically perform well? Certainly. Is it likely, given the current setup with regulatory pressure and also the time out from the halving, is it likely that we enter a trending market? I would agree with you, probably not. I think that's exactly what it is. Where, yeah, you could enter, but is it a good place to park money or active money right now? I'm not sure. I don't. I wouldn't expect too much personally. That's kind of where I'm at. Where it's like I think, yeah, could we hold 25K and be stuck between, 24 and 31 for the next 6 months? Yeah. Yeah, we could. We definitely could. It's just, why are you investing in Bitcoin? Are you investing in Bitcoin just because, eight banks? Or are you investing in Bitcoin because you want to make 300% to, 1,000% returns over a couple year period? Well, most people probably the latter, and that's probably not going to come, in my opinion, for a couple years.
Yeah. Real quick, I just am seeing on Twitter that Coinbase is potentially getting banned in multiple states if they don't. They got a 28-day cease and desist order, I guess, in like Alabama, California, Illinois, Kentucky, blah, 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 right? So they have 28 days to prove that they should be operational rather than not. So I didn't know that earlier. That came out like 3 hours ago, but that's that could be bad. I think let me see. Knowing where you guys live, I think we're all good.
Yeah.
So that's good.
I was happy to not see Florida in there, by the way.
Yeah.
How so? Where are you seeing that? I want to look at that right now.
But yeah,
I
we'll
saw
see.
that
I
as
mean
well.
if they start banning it, who tweeted it? Bitfinex retweeted some
Nomad.
other.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Nomad.
Nomad tweeted
I
it.
mean Nomad, yeah.
Was that confirmed? Was that 100%?
I mean, it looks pretty. It looked pretty damning to me. Just saying.
Yeah, it probably is Nomad. Let's see. I'm just looking at it right now. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I wouldn't be concerned about having money in Coinbase. Like it's really it's not a factor for me. That's not what this is. Yeah, of course, you don't like to have to think about something like that because you've heard the horror stories, you've maybe lived through it or even been affected by it, but again, this isn't about like an exchange going under or being insolvent or like losing access to your funds. It's about Coinbase, I guess, potentially not abiding by certain regulatory framework, which was actually not really given to them. So I don't know. I think it's less about the customer here and more about just, yeah, there's destined to be a war. The SEC wants control over these assets or these securities, whatever they are. Um, they want their hands on them.
Yeah.
So it's I'm not worried about Coinbase not existing in 6 months' time or something like that. Not at all.
But
No,
are
I'm
you
a
but are
bigger
you
fan
buying the
of
dip?
Coinbase this morning.
What'd you
If I
say?
had more money in my equity brokerage, I would have aped the crap out of Coinbase this morning.
That's what I was gonna say. Are you buying the dip?
I would have bought it this morning, like I said, if I had more in my equity brokerage. But I'm more liquid in crypto, so I guess in a way, I'm more bullish on Coinbase anyway.
Here's my issue with buying Coinbase. Yes, you could have bought the dip. It's still down 14%. You could still buy the dip. If we come back to fill the gap, it'll go to 55. That's a 10% move from here, give or take. I don't love the idea of owning Coinbase stock, truthfully. I view it as an inefficient derivative of Bitcoin itself, and I'd rather just own Bitcoin. So if I'm bullish on coin, I'm just going to be bullish on like total crypto market cap. And they actually look somewhat similar. Like if you pulled up Total 3 and Coinbase, they actually look kind of similar. Like it's literally just like altcoins is what it is. So it's like, why would I want to own Coinbase if I can just very swiftly, on chain go buy some altcoins or something? I just it doesn't make I don't see the returns there. The risk adjusted returns are not screaming at me to buy, even if this is maybe an overblown dip. But also, I don't know if it is an overblown dip because what if Coinbase has to stop selling altcoins? They're selling coins, they're taking fees for doing so. And if they have to stop and this lawsuit takes 3 or 4 years, we don't know. It's probably not going to be quick, maybe not 3 or 4 years, but years. And they lose, if they lose the ability to sell 25% of their product, and again, their product is these unregistered securities, or maybe they're not, these assets, well, then maybe it's justified it's down 13%. How much is their revenue going to, dwindle? It probably makes sense why it's down. So yeah, you could play this for an intraday dump, but if I don't want to own crypto here for the long term quite yet, why the hell would I want to own Coinbase here? And why would I want to own it over just owning Bitcoin or Ethereum? I can't make a case for it, but I'd love if you guys have a counter as to why somebody should own Coinbase over just Bitcoin or ETH. I would love to entertain it. I just don't see it personally.
Yeah,
I'd
no,
rather,
I mean, I
real
think,
quick though, I would consider owning MicroStrategy over Bitcoin because you
mm,
basically have a Bitcoin spot ETF with a cash flow attached to it. So I would consider MicroStrategy.
yeah, that would be the hope for Coinbase too, right? Is that you would have a derivative of direct crypto that possibly had, a yield and cash flow attached to it. But like, I guess the only reason you buy Coinbase is to bet that they will be the premier like stamp of regulatory for the entire United States, the world, right? Like
Bearish on that. Bearish on crypto in America.
not the world, but whatever. Like that would be that would be why you would back that. Yeah, yeah. So I mean that would be why you would buy it, but I mean, especially right now, like it's kind of a toss up. So I mean,
I
I don't
agree
know.
with your take, Max, about it being like an altcoin. I bet there's some like Bitcoin pair you could concoct on TradingView that um maybe gives you a good like idea of when to allocate to it. But otherwise I feel like you might be better off just playing an altcoin than Coinbase.
Well, do this on your trading view. Pull up coin, and then on a new pane below it, pull up total 3 and look at it. It's the same chart. It is literally the same chart.
Total 3 looks terrible, by the way.
You have that? Can you pull that up, Tucker?
Yeah.
So pull up, coin, and then total 3 on a new pane underneath it.
Yeah. Put it above. Let's get rid of this. Okay.
I mean, look at that. It's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same chart. So it's like, why would I want to own coin, especially when if you pull up like total, or if you just pulled up Bitcoin, you'll see that it's relatively outperforming. No,
Let's pull up total. Yeah. Let's move it below. Okay.
and like I know you can't just go and buy like total. At least if you can, I don't know how to do it.
Yeah. Let me
But
do big. Let me do Bitcoin. Let's see.
okay, so the bottom on yours is Bitcoin. So you've got Bitcoin, and then in the middle you've got that coin.
Coinbase. 3. Yeah. Here's all of them. Yeah. Let me just get rid of these.
A lot of buy volume on that 4-hour coin candle.
Can you adjust the middle chart there, Tucker, so it's like less squished?
Yeah. Let's see.
Just drag it, I think. It's like it's all the same thing, but Bitcoin's holding up better than, total 3. Guys, for those that don't know, total 3 is just every crypto asset less Bitcoin and Ethereum.
That's up 69% off the bottom. That's only a 60 off the bottom. Total 3's up like 8. Total 3 is severely underperforming from this dip.
So why would I want to attach my capital to a company that has people that can make mistakes and a business that can go through turbulence and has debt attached to it and all these different moving variables when it's underperforming the very thing they're just selling? I wouldn't.
Yeah.
But why didn't I buy the dip? there's a dip to buy, you buy Bitcoin. You know, they're correlated, and I'd rather just play the one that's going to be better.
If they really squeeze alts today, I think they are maybe setting up for like an altcoin blowout.
Like blowout to the top side, like mega squeeze
No, like I think they're squeezing it right now.
to flush
Unless
it.
unless we like fully retrace the Binance dump, then I think this is probably a squeeze.
I see.
But if we retrace, if we like completely get past that entire FEG, then you know, who knows? Anything's on the table at that point. If we
Yeah.
can above, I mean, with like the best probability, probably 27.4. That's still, I think, the most important level on my chart. But you could get baited if we get up, if we trade, if we do somehow squeeze up to that level and just like wick it again. That would be hilarious for one, because we've already done that like 6 times. But I would imagine if you breach 27.4 again, given the sell off that we had on Sunday, it would be pretty meaningful. Um,
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, look, we're moving here, but the question is this just like a short covering squeeze or
I think so. Look at the buy volume on the four, or I mean, really on any candle, you can kind of see, like I was saying at the beginning of the show, you can tell pretty quickly when these shorts are getting squeezed by the candles, and if volatility is not going to climb, um, it's probably best to fade high volume candles or the stop run on the high volume candles
mm-hmm.
in the smallest case.
Are you still on this screen, Max?
I'm not. You want me to go back to your screen?
Yeah, look at I just did it with MicroStrategy and the other two, and MicroStrategy is clearly the move as far as a stock crypto derivative.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. Thanks for making that. That was exactly what I was saying. Is there's actually a benefit to holding MicroStrategy
Yeah.
over potentially holding it over just spot Bitcoin. But there's also potential negatives where they're extremely leveraged. So I think you have a small window of time before those notes potentially become like a serious liability to the business and become payable. If price stays suppressed on Bitcoin below MicroStrategy's average entry of I believe it's about 30,000, if price remains suppressed underneath that entry when the notes become payable, which again I think they're staggered a little bit, but it's between like 4 and 6 years from now. Um, then it's like what happens? Do the people that issued the notes, offer them an extension, out of good faith while they secured the debt at like less than 1%? Doubtful of that. So it's like there's a small window of time where I think, you don't really have to worry about a balloon or anything like that. Um, so in the short term, I think, if it's our base case that this next cycle is going to ramp up for risk and Bitcoin and ETH are going to perform well over the next, let's just say like 3-4 years, yeah, MicroStrategy is probably a decent hold. It should squeeze. And I don't know for sure, but did it outperform Bitcoin during the last bull market? I
It's a
feel
good
like I
question.
saw that it did. At least at times it did.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
and the fact that I mean their options chain is decent. It's better than a crypto like actual native crypto options chain that I've ever seen. Maybe that changes next cycle, or in the U.S. we have access to other products we don't right now. But yeah, I wouldn't want to own coin. I wouldn't at all.
yeah. Let's see here.
You can kind of do a rough estimate too. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I think MicroStrategy performed extremely well during last bull market.
Some of these alts are super weak.
How does BNB look right now? I haven't checked that actually.
Look like 2%. Anytime I see Elliott Capital talking about BNB, I know I should long crypto.
See, BNB is one that I've wanted to short. It's been on like my bucket list of like ones that I need revenge on. It's been on my revenge list because I've lost some money to BNB over the past 3 or 4 quarters. trying to short it or something like that, and it's just like you're playing against the Godfather, man. You're playing against CZ. So,
Right.
but now it's like, maybe CZ's, CZ's weak.
I was thinking about this morning, um, in the shower. Yes, I was thinking about Binance shower.
Here, you've
No.
heard that here. You've heard it here, folks. Tommy was thinking about CZ in the shower this morning.
No, I was thinking about it from the standpoint of like he basically, he had to have known that taking out FTX was going to be the end. That was it for him. They were definitely going to come after him, after basically forming a monopoly on the rest of the crypto industry. Let's call it what it was. From a non-benevolent standpoint. But yeah, no, I just thought that was so interesting, how big of a like a flex is that to take out your biggest competitor, say I'm him, and then it's like such a big move that you get to exit stage left now, into onto the $160 million yacht that you bought.
Dude, here's the thing. Like, he's probably one of the wealthiest men on the planet. No
Ever.
question about it. Maybe
Yeah.
ever. What does he
Like
care?
not the
Like,
wealthiest, but he's up there for
yeah.
sure.
Oh, he's up there,
There was
man.
another bull run, he'd be worth $1 trillion. I think we were talking about this, Max. Like if there was another bull run, he'd be worth $1 trillion or more. And there's no way they're gonna let somebody like CZ in an unregulated crypto industry do that. Hell no.
Here's the one issue with that. On paper, he'd be worth $1 trillion. How much liquidity is actually available to sell that if he wanted to? That's not
To
happening.
the entire industry.
He was gonna own, if there was another, he'd own 10 to 25% of all the crypto assets in circulation if we had like a real true super cycle, like the Suzu, like in Kyle Davies super cycle. If we had that, he would have been on paper worth $1 trillion probably. But then it's like pull up Dex Screener, and something might have a market cap of 50 million with like a million of liquidity. That's something that a lot of people don't want to talk about. It's like, all right, what's the total crypto market cap right now? Okay, yeah, that's what it is on paper, but what's the actual liquidity available to like sell those assets? What if 10% of market participants wanted to be done with crypto and get out? What happens then? Do we want to talk about that? It's the same thing with banks. It's like it only works if people just don't sell, and they leave their money in the bank. So crypto only works if people just leave their money there. Yeah, you might have it on paper, but you're making a calculated bet that 90% of the people out there won't sell. Or I'm sorry, even 10% of the people out there that own crypto won't all be like, fuck this, man. I don't like the SEC breathing all over me. We're just going to be done. I'm going to sell it. That's a disaster. People don't want to talk about that.
You made me think of that meme of like the shriveled up Wojak where he's like, please stop selling. But yeah, we can get into some closing thoughts here, guys. I see we're getting into the hour mark, and I think it's going to be a pretty interesting afternoon for me to be trading some of these altcoins and obviously Bitcoin as well. For me, awesome day. The IWM calls printed. Um, Happy to see crypto responding well, even if it's just a squeeze. You're not gonna, like, you dirty bears getting away. If you're still holding a short from the low, you're a dirty, dirty bear.
Yes, you are. You deserve it. You deserve what's happening to you.
I they did bait the short really hard this morning. That was kind of mean. I'm in like another Discord where it's just like price action, and they got baited by it too. So there was a lot. I mean, they trapped, I bet, a lot of short delta at that low. I'm interested to see how we trade from here. Um, but yeah, no, I like to see, it's always good to see crypto squeezing on a day with regulatory FUD. How can you not like to see that? Um, I don't know what coin's doing right now, but probably a stock to pay attention to. Gonna see how these altcoin pumps can kind of sustain. Want to see how the Russell sustains its pump. Would love to see that continue squeezing. If I can get a dip to re-add, I did take profit on my calls. if they're dated
Tommy,
for
I'm
next.
picturing that meme where it's like Jerome Powell and it's like, remember, no dips, and he's holding like a gun.
They're gonna make me pay for being okay with a 250% win on those calls.
That's the crypto effect where it's like only in crypto will you regret selling for a 200% win.
Right. Right. I mean, so many on-chain tokens kind of personify exactly that saying in the last few weeks. Harry Potter, Obama, Sonic, Inu,
Oh,
uh, being one, ticker Bitcoin. But yeah, that's pretty much all my closing thoughts, guys. I don't know if you guys have anything to add. I think it's going to be an interesting rest of the day of trading for sure.
I'm probably gonna try to stay off the leverage in crypto, man. I took a stab at it this morning, but I got out really quickly. I saw what was brewing, and hey, you know what? Sometimes a good loss is just as good and meaningful to your portfolio and your P&L as a good win. And I had a really good quick close this morning when the squeeze started. I knew where I was wrong, but it is fun to it's fun to watch people pile in at the lows and then stubbornly compound their positions when they start getting squeezed. It's literally like pouring gasoline on the fire. I mean, that is the only way to describe what's happening. um, they'll probably get squeezed. We'll probably see like the liquidation skew flip, and we'll end up having more like short liquidation delta underneath us. And then and only then, maybe if funding flips just for a split second for 1 8 hour period, then maybe we go down again. Yeah, it's I'm gonna just kind of I'm gonna be I'm a spectator for right now. I'm enjoying what's happening with my equity brokerage this morning. IWM is treating us very kindly, so I'm appreciative of the Russell for that. Spy calls are still up, well over 100% from last week, so those are doing well. Also, I believe TLT is green today, also. So we're green across the board in equities. Don't really have any crypto exposure. But yeah, I'm gonna read and react and just look for some opportunities. But either way, I want to just reiterate this. I'm not. I really like what Tommy said. He used the expression a trending market. And I think for me that's really what it comes down to is yes, maybe we could move up, maybe we could move down, but do I think we're going to be in a trending market? That's really my number one priority or criteria for whether I want to enter a long-term position, either up or down, is will we trend? Nobody wants to sit there and enter. You could be right, but you might have to get chopped up for 3 months before you get paid. I'd rather just sit there. And we are in an environment right now where we have the luxury of earning a passive yield just for being patient. You know? So for me, it's just trying to determine, are we going to trend or not? And by the way, if you made it to the end of this video, thank you. We had some major streaming issues. It was a technical issue on my end where we were trying to stream at like a ridiculously high frame rate and it was just lagging like crazy. We were able to fix that. So the next one, we're doing these every single day. The next one will be much better. But we were climbing. We were like 10 people watching, 15, 17, and then suddenly it just dropped off as soon as like the lagging started. So it's probably literally just us in here. But either way, actually, it looks like there's a couple people still. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being here. If you want access to all these calls, all these plays that we make, we share every single position that we all take. It's not a signals group, but we share them for educational purposes. We provide analysis and we give you a behind the curtain look at how we trade and actually how we position in tandem with that analysis that we share. So we do that in real time. It's a free trial too. You'll see it right there. Free trial. So it doesn't cost you anything. You can try for a week. I would definitely encourage everybody to give it a try. I know it's a bear market. Paid groups are not fun in bear markets, but hey, we show up every day, and we've been hitting some bangers. So definitely check it out. But yeah, Tucker, what do you got for us, man? Closing thoughts?
Yeah, I was about to say, Max, you were almost one of those dirty bears this morning.
I was.
Uh, real close.
I was.
No, but I think attempting to find positions still in small caps before before next week's meetings is probably the right idea. And that's what I'm going to be. That's what I'm going to be looking to do. But yeah, besides that, I mean, I guess I'll just throw this tidbit in there. I'm seeing a little bit of Robinhood FUD going around on Twitter now, specifically at UMax. So,
Stop.
it's, just wanted to
What are you
alert
seeing?
Robin
uh,
Hood.
On man.
Robinhood FUD. Just this guy, the Parrot Capital guy, retweeted some other guy, and they're just saying Robinhood provides FDIC insurance and high APY on cash balances alongside seamless crypto and stocks trading. They're basically trying to conflate it to be the same thing as what Coinbase is doing. So
No,
I
what
don't know.
the way they issue their yield for their high interest whatever account is they're literally just buying like 3 and 6 month notes and then paying you less than what they make on those notes.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
as
yeah.
long as the
No,
government doesn't default on it, they get paid. Their users get paid. I mean, they're paying me 4.65%, and what's the yield on a 6 month note right now? Even know, probably like
here,
5% or something.
US
3 month is yeah. I mean, 1 year is 5.21. 3 month is 5.34. So they're just
yeah, 6 months is 5.4.
and they're also. I mean, it says it's FDIC insured up to 2 million. So I don't, dude. I don't even want to think about that. Where am I safe,
Yeah, no,
guys?
I think it's more I think it's more the crypto trading unregistered securities stuff they're gonna come at him for, but I don't know. Scary time to be a crypto investor, I guess, right? Where are you safe?
When it's time to buy, though, right? Or getting close to it.
Probably MetaMask. Um,
Getting close
yeah,
if it's not.
exactly.
I
Yeah, but
I hate the feeling of like exchange risk or
I
like
know.
counterparty risk. I can live with like price just destroying, like getting destroyed. I hate the thought of just like having to deal with an exchange or like I don't know, a broker. Oh, it's so annoying. I hate having to think about that.
I know. I haven't had to deal with an exchange rug yet. I'm gonna try hard to keep it that way. So yeah, I don't know. Because like I'm just like, okay, if Binance like I don't want to say goes down, but like has to like halt withdrawals and do whatever, like
I don't think
there's
it.
probably some other exchanges that are very intertwined, obviously, with Binance who would probably be affected if they like have to put a halt to liquidity, basically. So I don't know. I'm being very defensive with it until we get some resolution, but
I'm leaving my
uh
money in Robinhood, man. I'm fine. I'm
yeah,
leaving it.
yeah, but no, that's all I got.
Right, guys. Well, uh, like Max said, we really appreciate you guys for tuning in. As always, we're going to be back tomorrow at noon Eastern time. Wait, was it noon or was it
Noon
Noon
Eastern.
East, noon
yeah,
East.
noon Eastern time. I guess we started about 15, 20 minutes late, which kind of threw me off a little bit today, but we're just having some technical difficulties, guys. Uh, have it all set up tomorrow for you, including no frame rate issues as well. So yeah, hope you guys have a great rest of your day, a great rest of your trading week. I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of volatility I can catch this afternoon. And yeah, have a great rest of y'all's day. We will be back for we're not having a guest for Market Talk today, right?
I,
Or
I don't think so. I know that Wabi has a guest. I think right now. So maybe we'll hop over to Twitter and see
cool.
what he's up to. But
Yeah.
yeah.
See y'all soon.